Now we are up to the interview part of the Just Talk podcast, and I'm here with Meghan Huerter.
Hello.
All right. So when you having a brother have the recruiting process before you, has that helped you once you went through that process?
Yeah. I mean, I have two older brothers that went through the process. Then my dad played at Siena, and my oldest brother played at Siena. So definitely just like having all of them definitely help, and kind of just like took a huge load off my shoulders, and I wasn't as stressed out as I feel like some of my other friends were.
Well, we had Aaron on the podcast. He mentioned that the current coach, Coach Killings, he met first from his brother Cam. Did you have any experience with that, with any of the recruiting processes from your brothers?
No, I mean, like, I feel like just in the recruiting process, like, people knew. They would just ask me questions. But I feel like it's different for the girls' side. Just
because different coaches.
Yeah. I mean, like, I would get, like, I don't even count this as, like, offers or anything, but I would get, like, interest letters from, like, schools that either recruited him, and they, like, would say, like, oh, like, Kevin was on campus or whatever. Like, the Maryland coaches gave me a letter, like, wrote me a letter, and because I met them once at a practice when he was still at Maryland. But, like, they never recruited me or anything. It was more just, I think, just to say hi or whatever.
Got it. Now, the question I have to ask everybody, was there a specific player growing up that helped inspire your game?
I don't know. I don't want to, like, I think it's literally just, like, growing up with two older brothers. And I have a younger sister that's 1 year younger than me. So we definitely just, I mean, like, we would work out together when they were in high school, and we were young. Like, I'm 5 years younger than Kevin, and then 6 years younger than my other brother. But definitely just, like, we were always working out together. But I feel like on the girls' side, I really like Sabrina Ionescu, and I like watched her a lot when she was in college. I definitely just like her game, and I feel like I have some similarities with her, definitely just like with the scoring, and I think I'm a pretty good passer. I see the floor pretty well. Yeah,
I mean, she's one of the greatest three-point shooters in history, so it definitely represents your game as you know, being a three-point shooter yourself. Now, the next question I have for you is, growing up near Albany in Clifton Park, what made you choose Providence?
I think honestly, like, at the time, I liked the coaches. Like, they were really good. They always made it a point to kind of like ask about me as more of a person than a player, and I definitely like connected with them from like early on in my recruitment process, which made it easier because I had the best relationship with them throughout the whole time of my recruitment. And I just like kind of like at that point I was like, okay, I don't really know if I want to stay in the area, just because like I've been here my whole life. I kind of like wanted something different, and it's in the Big East. It's a really competitive league. And so like I think all of that just kind of like drew me to it. I mean, the school is a really good academic school as well. I mean, Friars are
Fire Nation.
Yeah, it's different there.
Now, my next question is, what has been the biggest difference or transition from going from the Big East to the American East?
I think like style of play. I think America East is a lot more structured and kind of like how we play, whereas Big East, like, I mean, you're playing against teams that are in top 25. Like, you have people that you're playing against that are like really good players. Like, I played against Paige Beckers, I played against AZ Fudd, I played against people on UConn, whereas like they're completely different than who I'm playing against in the America East. And like even like teams like Creighton, like the programs there, they're based around the players. While I think in the America East, the players are fit within the programs, which isn't necessarily bad. Like, the coaches kind of like mold each other. Like, they have their specific things that they want to work on, and the players then like buy into that system, where I feel like America East is different than that. It's more structured.
Who do you think was the hardest player you ever had to guard?
Paige.
That makes sense.
No, actually, okay. Maddie Segrist at Villanova. I was switched on to her, and I was like, holy, I do not want to be guarding her right now.
Now, a question I have because of our interview with DeMar was, did an injury or anything happen where you had to guard her, or was it just always the assignment?
I think when I was at Providence, we played pack line defense, so we forced everything baseline.
Got it.
We didn't help. We were in gaps. So like if we were having ball screen defenses, there was a chance that we would be switching, and that's where I would switch out onto her, or say it was in transition defense where I had to pick her up. But not necessarily my assignment was to guard Paige or Maddie Segrist, or I think I had to guard AZ Fudd once, but that was like just how the matchup happened to be.
Got it. So it wasn't really much before the game like pregame ritual or anything. It just happened when it happened.
I mean, like we had our assignments where like, okay, like these two people are like who we want to guard Paige.
Yeah.
And, like they have to take on the majority of the load of it, and then everyone else kind of just has to do their job.
I'm pretty surprised that Paige wasn't number one. I'm not going to lie, but
I mean, I also played against her when she was hurt, and Maddie Segrist
was.
She was like, that was when she was a senior. She was killing it.
Obviously, playing with Prov, how is their pink out? Is it as good as everybody makes it seem?
It is. I mean,
electric? Yeah,
the Providence fan base is, my opinion, number one best college fan base in America. Even though I'm not there anymore, I still have a lot of friends there at Providence. Like I'm still close with a lot of the teams there and a lot of my old teammates. But yeah, Providence environment is different, especially the pick out game with the Taylor Swift song.
Well, yeah, that Love Story, they always got to play that. I mean, that they're known for that in that student section. I will say when I went to Providence, that student section was pretty remarkable, especially for, no offense, but for college basketball. Because obviously not college basketball will never bring a college football atmosphere. But, for college basketball, it is one of the greatest student sections that I've been able to attend.
I mean, Friars are diehard. If you go to Providence, you're a diehard Providence fan.
Because there's nothing else to do there. Wait, actually, I apologize, Sebastian Thomas. Sorry about that, Rhode Island.
The roadies.
A10.
Yeah.
But no, and I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest. When I think of Rhode Island, I think of Providence.
Yeah. I mean, it's a superior school.
All right, Sebastian was gonna watch this. I'm gonna get.
Don't listen to it, Bassie. I got your back, bro.
I mean, definitely a better conference. I mean, A10's still pretty good though.
A10 is pretty good.
Yeah, they got Dayton, and there's a lot of good schools in there. I'm pretty sure VCU's also in there.
VCU's A10, yeah.
Yeah, VCU's been great for a while.
UMass.
Well, I mean, Richmond's. I don't know. They're
Richmond.
I don't think they're that good. I mean, football. We killed them by like 30 in the playoffs. So last season obviously was your biggest season in college sports. Now you pretty much doubled in every category. And do you think that was because you have more opportunities here, or do you think you've just grown as a player through the process?
I think honestly probably both. Like, definitely like more of an opportunity here. I have a really good relationship with the coaches, and also just like I feel like growing. Like my first 2 years being at Providence, like it's a really tough conference. Definitely just like it's different with some stuff. Like definitely just the opportunities at Providence is a lot more than opportunities at Albany. Just kind of like how it plays out, different types of school. But definitely just like I feel like me growing as a person, as a player, coming back home, like more of like the comfort like I talked about earlier.
Now, in the offseason, what category in your game do you think you most improved?
Honestly, I want to become more of a pull-up. I wanted to gain more of a pull-up game just because I feel like last year I kind of like, I mean, I'm always going to be looking for my shot. If I have a wide open shot, I'm going to be taking it. But if I didn't have that, I would more be like a driver, whereas I wouldn't even think to take a pull-up until like towards the end of the season where teams would literally like deny me off the 3-point line and then knew that I would just be driving if I didn't have a shot. So basically just like trying to make them guard me at all three levels instead of just a two-dimensional player.
Albany last season, up until that New Hampshire game, 14-game win streak, top 3 in college basketball behind obviously South Carolina, who didn't lose a game. So, I mean, that's kind of hard to beat that.
Yeah.
Now, that game was very injury riddled. It wasn't just you. Multiple players were hurt that game. You had I think it was both ankle injuries. It was
when we lost at home
to New Hampshire.
That was against Vermont.
What was the New Hampshire game I'm talking about?
New Hampshire is when me and Lily Phillips both got hurt. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. We didn't lose that game.
You won?
Yeah.
It said you lost. All right. You won.
We did not. No disrespect to UNH. We did not lose to UNH.
All right, so the 14-game losing streak went on Vermont?
Yes.
And you were hurt for that too?
That was the first game after UNH, yeah.
Yeah,
so so me and Lily both came back from an injury.
Yeah, so I mean, coming back from injury is going to be tough to respond. I mean, you're going to get Vermont back this season, obviously. You guys are the better team. Higher seeding. They were the 3, you were the 2. Mm-hmm. And 14 games in a row is impressive. We got to get the men to do that this season.
Yeah, coming soon.
Yeah,
coming soon.
Coming soon.
This season.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think definitely with that Vermont game that we did lose, last season our team was number 1 in defensive scoring. So we held teams to the lowest amount of scoring in Division I college basketball, and I think Vermont was top 5, if not number 2. So when we played Vermont, it was all defense. Like, offense is really hard to come by. We are a defensive-minded team, and I think just at the end of the day, like, they just scored more baskets than we did. I mean, they beat us 3 times, and the last time we should have beat them. It was a controversial call at the end, but it was like our 2 teams were defensive-based, and we lost that just because we didn't score more points at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think you guys are clearly the better team. I think you guys get it in the next rematch you guys have. You know, obviously Vermont and both sides, men's and women's, are phenomenally coached. That's how they've always been. You know, I think Albany in both sides has more talent, but that sometimes that's not what matters at the end of the day. It matters how well you're coached. And like I said, 14 games in a row, it's impressive. And I mean, I don't think Vermont's ever, like, I don't remember the last time Vermont's won 14 games in a row. And like I said, there was injuries. There was a lot of injuries last season towards the end of the year. And I think sometimes it falls off track when you're finally in a rhythm. And then it's just, I mean, you didn't lose the UNH game, but the second half, you guys got demolished.
Yeah.
You guys were on a 21-2 run in the first half. And then that saved them because they were able to get by. But that second half was tough. And I think that's kind of what gave you a glimpse of the Vermont game because, you know, it's contagious. When you get injuries and your team starts getting out of that flow, it's contagious both ways. I mean, when you were winning, it was contagious because you guys were on such a roll, you couldn't lose. And then once something takes that off track, it kind of changes the realm of things. Yeah. But
I mean, also last year, we only had 10 people on the team.
Yeah.
And so I went down, I sprained my ankle like right before halftime. And then Lily sprained her ankle, I believe, towards the end of the third quarter. So like literally like that's 2 guards that played a lot of minutes. And we only had 10 people and we had 5 guards, 5 posts. And so we basically were relying on people that weren't put in the situations to have that much weight on their shoulders to produce as much as they had to in that game. And like you said, like that 21-2 first quarter lead that we had, like totally saved us because we were not winning that game if we didn't have that big of a cushion.
Yeah, I remember your coach commenting on that about the 10-player thing. I still don't understand that in college basketball because the same thing with the men's last year. We're very injury riddled.
Oh yeah, you know, down to conference play, we had a bunch of guys. We was playing with like 8 or 9 people. You know, I don't make any sense because like a football team gets like 100 guys and then you get 15. It should be like I think a 25 kind of limit because you're gonna lose some people. It's gonna happen. Yeah, and it's hard to you don't want to lose a season because of injuries. That's just. Yeah, it's not. That's
we were blessed that we didn't really have that much of injuries until towards the end of the season. Like we were undefeated January and December. That everyone was healthy.
So you were the hottest team in the beginning of the new year. It was unbelievable. Yeah. It was awesome. You guys blew up. You guys were blowing teams out too. Yeah. It was unbelievable, and I'm hoping we can see that this season.
Yeah.
Now my last question for you is a very controversial one, and because you're from the area, I'll say my opinion first. I believe Upstate starts up after New York City. Do you believe that's where it starts?
No.
Where did it start then?
Past Albany.
Really?
Starts at Albany.
So Albany is the beginning of Upstate.
Yeah.
Okay. So Poughkeepsie's downstate?
Yeah. I mean, Albany is the capital. So think of how big New York is.
Yeah, New York is huge.
People underestimate how big New York is. One. So you start at Albany.
Yes.
Which is still probably like halfway.
It is halfway, yes.
And that's everything else is upstate. Where I feel like, Poughkeepsie, I feel like that's downstate. But when you more get into like probably like Kingston, you can probably say upstate.
Interesting. All right. What's your take on this from Florida?
No opinion.
No opinion?
From Miami, South Florida.
So if someone said I'm going upstate New York, where would you think? Would you think?
I'd think Albany.
Yeah.
But would you think Westchester?
I don't even know what that is. Like on the map.
That's like right above New York City.
Oh.
He's from there.
So do you claim that you're upstate New York?
Okay, hold on. Let me tap in. Never ever tell someone from Westchester that they live in upstate New York, or they will get very, very angry at you.
So my what I was saying was right.
Upstate, I would say Albany is a good, middle ground to say that's upstate. Some people would say Poughkeepsie is kind of upstate, but past Albany for sure is upstate.
Yeah. Because here we got like the farmlands, like we got all the woods.
I hate to say it, but to me, Westchester's still the kind of the woodsy area. There's so much room. Houses are like.
I'm agreeing with him.
And there's hills in Westchester.
Just because you have hills doesn't mean it's upstate.
Well, New York City and Long Island's flat.
Yeah.
So to us, if we see a hill, it's like, oh my gosh, we're in the countryside, So I guess, I mean, it's all about perspective, but
No
you heard it here
man.
first from Albany.
I say 518. If your area code's 518, you're upstate. Is your area code 518?
No, I think it's 914.
914.
Yeah.
Exact. So yeah. Area code's
Stamped.
518, upstate New York.
All right. To me, all right, I guess, you know, at least you didn't
I mean,
say
to each their
Plattsburgh.
own.
Yeah, some
To
people
each
say
their
it starts at Plattsburgh, which is nuts.
No.
I mean, pretty much Canada at that point. I don't know
Yeah.
if Plattsburgh's in this country. It's so
Yeah.
close to Canada. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.